Hello, welcome back. Happy to have you here with us today. I'm Marci Maury, president of the Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation, and with me today is Pam Metzger, membership coordinator for the foundation, and Jess Lee, the incoming chair of the foundation. Thank you, Jess, for joining Pam and I to have a conversation.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So it's been an exciting day. We want to first thank all of the donors who have chosen Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation as part of their extraordinary give. And as a reminder, the extragive.org, it features 451 nonprofits that are doing good work all across the Commonwealth. So there are a lot of options, but take a peek at it. Maybe there's something that you would like to support with your philanthropic dollars. So Jess.
Marci.
It's getting to the end of the day, getting a little punchy, getting a little tired.
Yep, understood. It's Friday. We're almost there.
It's Friday. Next week's a holiday. But you were one of our guest presenters at the Women in the Big Woods event. And you talked about backpacking for women from your experience as being a thru-hiker on the Appalachian Trail. And your workshop has actually motivated a number of women that participated to get out there and get on the trail. So first of all, thank you for helping to empower these women to explore that opportunity to connect with nature and with themselves through backpacking.
Truly my pleasure. It was.
I only have one complaint. Nobody took any pictures.
Of the session or of the...
Yeah,
I know. It was a little dark.
but nobody took any.
Yeah,
archery, we got all these pictures of people doing the archery thing. And...
I'm really bad at taking pictures. It drives my husband crazy because every time I want to show someone a picture, I have to text him and ask him for the pictures. So I will do better next year, I promise.
Yes, and we were all very busy, so we need to have somebody dedicated just to that. I think roaming around and taking pictures, that's the way to get pictures.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So, so we would love for you to share some of your experience as an Appalachian Trail thru-hiker, but then Pam and I may have some questions for you in regards to getting special considerations for women who might want to explore or spend time in the outdoors.
Yeah.
My first question is, why? How did this come up?
Well, so I started backpacking with my dad when I was 15. And we did a bunch of, we're in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area, and we did a bunch of East Coast backpacking trips. And one of the big ones, one of the more challenging trips for backpacking on the East Coast is the White Mountains in New Hampshire, which are very rugged and very beautiful. And really one of my favorite geographies in the world. So my dad and I were there on a trip when I was probably, 17. And we met somebody who was thru-hiking because the Appalachian Trail runs right through the White Mountains. Mm-hmm. So I was up there on a long weekend with my dad. We met, I think the guy's trail name was Grasshopper or something. You're really stretching the limits of my memory there. But as thru-hikers do and hikers in general do, we just got chatting. And I learned that this trail goes from Georgia to Maine. And it's something that people do this where they just hike the whole thing. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And then it got put on ice for a little while. I mean, I was 17. I went to college. I started deciding that I wanted to have a big adventure after college. So I started saving up and that was the adventure. So decided, all right, I'm going to do this. So cool. I did it. I was 24. It was 10 years ago now, which is crazy. So 2015 was a great year on the trail. Every year, I'm sure, is a great year on the trail, but that's the only year I was there for the whole thing. So,
yes. So, Grasshopper, if you're listening, thanks for inspiring Jess. But, when we were promoting this conversation, Pam said, maybe Jess will tell us what her trail name is.
Yeah. My trail name's Cruise Control.
And what is the origin of your trail name?
So I had a friend who I was hiking with in Georgia, and she was dead set on naming me. It's kind of a thing, especially early on, like to name another hiker is kind of, it's a thing. You try to find the right name for people you've just met. And I am really steady when I'm hiking. I go really slow on the downhills, and because I have bad ankles, and she had too much weight in her pack, so she was really slow on the uphills. So to her, it seemed like I was going the same pace the whole time because we just kept crisscrossing each other, and she's like, "You don't change pace at all." So that's how I got my trail name.
Cool.
Is there a directory so you can make sure that it's unique?
There is not. And I never met another active cruise control. There was someone else on the trail that year who had been called cruise control, but by the time I met him, his name had changed. So it was okay. We didn't have there was no matrixy kind of moment.
Now, so if you read Bill Bryson's book, so often when people get to Pennsylvania, they're tired, they're exhausted. Bill Bryson said some very negative things about Pennsylvania.
They call it, thru-hikers call it Rocksylvania.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are rocks all along the Appalachian Trail. It is the Appalachian spine. I'm sorry.
I'm well aware.
The White Mountains are pretty rocky.
The entire state of Maine is just granite.
Right.
But I think the difference for Pennsylvania is it's more like in Maine and New Hampshire, you're hiking up and down giant rocks. In Pennsylvania, the rocks are like medium-sized rocks. It never bothered me. I attributed it to the fact that I grew up hiking in Pennsylvania. So when I got to Pennsylvania, everybody had been complaining about it, and I was ready. I had this image in my head of 50 miles of McDonald's ball pit sized rocks that were just waiting to twist my ankle. And it was never that bad. So I was like, I don't know what everyone was so worried about. And then I was like, well, I did grow up hiking in this terrain. So maybe it was just because to me, it's normal. But
do you suppose because it's unexpected when people think about Pennsylvania, they don't think about that kind of geology? They think that it's going to be Pennsylvania, it's Penn's Woods. We're going to be taking a walk in the woods.
There were lots of parts of Pennsylvania that were exactly like that, and it was lovely. I did my longest days in Pennsylvania because there were parts that were flat and lovely, and you're hiking through cornfields, and it's just very pleasant. And then there's the rocky parts, which is
just throws a boulder at you.
That's how it is.
Well, and it flows through multiple state parks, through several state forests. So it is interconnected with the work that we do as the Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation because it's on these shared lands. And my husband and I are actually trail maintainers, so you probably hiked on one of our trails.
I'm pretty
in
sure
those flat areas in
Thank
the
you.
Cumberland Valley.
Really, really wonderful work. So I've always appreciated that you and Joe do that.
Yeah, thank you. So, for somebody that's thinking, anybody, male or female, that's thinking about doing a long distance hike, and we have not just the Appalachian Trail, but there's the North Country Trail, there's all these state forest hiking trails. What are some advice or tips that you would give?
I think it varies so much person to person and how much experience. I would say in some ways, this is going to be contradictory advice. So, especially since I spent 3 hours with our friends at the Women in the Big Woods event, talking about how to prepare. But I think the first thing I'm going to say is don't overthink it. So over prepare, but don't overthink, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's all kinds of things you can do to learn about the terrain, to make sure that you're being safe, you're making smart decisions, you have everything you need in case something goes wrong. And that's what I spent most of the time talking about with my group at the event in September. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be, it can be exactly as hard as you want it to be. And so, I spent tons of time before my through hike researching like the best clothes, and I had the best pair of shorts, and like I figured out what shirt I needed and like what kind of material did it need to be. And like halfway through the trail, maybe even a quarter of the way, I like stopped at Walmart and bought a pair of shorts and a tank top because the clothes that I had weren't serving me anymore. And so I was in a town and that's what they had. And so I bought it and I wore it the rest of the way. So there's definitely ways to overthink it. And I think we are culturally predisposed to that. So that would be the first thing I would say is don't overthink it. Do what you need to do to be prepared and over prepare, but don't overthink.
Okay. It's interesting that the next upcoming PPFF book discussion is a walk in the park about these two gentlemen who walk the length of the Grand Canyon. And I just got to the point where they joined a group that had spent years preparing, because it's pretty rugged. It's not been done by a lot of people. There's different ecotones. It can be very hot. There are flash floods. There's all these hazards. And they show up having not prepared at all. And I just got to the point where they joined this group of folks who had prepared, and this core group had been warned not to allow them to join them. Yet for some reason they did. So it's kind of interesting, there's that fine line of you need to prepare, give yourself. Their philosophy was, you know what? We'll get fit while we're doing it. So what's your reaction to that? Getting fit while you're doing it?
So I met people when I did my through hike for whom the through hike was their first backpacking trip, which felt crazy to me. But they had the foundational skills, like they had been camping, they were athletes, like in different areas, and so they were able to. Even though it was their first backpacking trip, they were able to complete the hike safely and healthily. And I think that's the main thing, right? You have to be prepared with your safety and your health. And, hopping on the trail with no experience in walking on uneven terrain can be dangerous. And that's something that I was well into adulthood before I realized that was something to think about, because I grew up hiking. Like I grew up in South Jersey. I started going to Pennsylvania state parks when I was a kid with my family. We were always running around on all different kinds of trails in Rocksylvania. So, it wasn't until I was an adult and taking friends with me into the parks who hadn't grown up doing that I realized that this foot stability that I have on all kinds of different terrains is learned. And so my reaction to your question, Marci, is like, that makes me very nervous. Mostly because, I think we are generally capable of more than we think we are. And it is very possible to over prepare and overthink. But there's a line. And I think if you're risking your health or your safety, it's very easy to injure yourself when you're in a athletic situation that you're not prepared for. And when you're in the backcountry, or, you don't even have to be that far into the backcountry where an injury can be a really big problem. Right. if you can't get yourself out. So I would not recommend going to the Grand Canyon and hiking it without any preparation.
I'll let you know how the book turns out.
I'm going to be on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go down to Ohio Pile on a trail without being at least moderately prepared with a little bit of water and a decent pair of shoes.
Yeah, I like, and that's where I love tools like All Trails, and there's a great website. I can't think of the name of it right now, but Reddit also has a bunch of good threads. That's what when I was talking with the women in the Big Woods event, they said, how do you find out about the trails? And I said, well, there's apps like All Trails and things like that. you can always Google, but there's also like one of the biggest things I do is I go on Reddit and search for the trail name. And there's usually a thread somewhere. There's like subreddits for backpacking and for the Appalachians specifically. And for each state has like its own hiking subreddit. And those are just people who are really passionate about hiking. And sometimes it's people who really know the area and can give you some really solid advice. Like, hey, this water supply is really unreliable by the time it gets to October. So be prepared for that.
There's so many people that are so willing and interested in sharing their expertise and helping you do whatever it is better.
Yeah. I mean, hikers love talking about hiking.
Bikers love talking about biking. So.
Well, and I think that's not just with any trail, and particularly if it's on a park and forest. I think that park and forest staff are also good resources.
Yes.
Calling and asking, because there might be something that's happening that is real time and hasn't made it onto a platform.
Yes. Things like Reddit and All Trails and things like that are good for historical knowledge, but you're absolutely right. You can't rely on that for like, hey, this section of trail is flooded from the thunderstorm that we got last night. But yeah, Parks and Forest staff is anytime I have the opportunity to stop in and chat with someone before I hit the trail, it's always just also a lovely conversation. It's informative and helpful and useful, but also just enjoyable.
Yeah. Anytime.
I'm going to put it into the chat box. We did a podcast with Mike Boone about the Long Island Hiking Trail, which is a beautiful multi-day hike in Pennsylvania. So he's a little bit of insight on that.
Your sound has gone a little wonky, Marci.
I don't know. You guys chat.
Now it's back.
Yeah, it's back now. Yep, you just went kind of weird there for a second. But.
It's exhausting me. between keyboards that won't let you key because of some update by software companies to microphones going out. It's been a day. I need a little outdoor time.
Yes. Hopefully I have something planned for this weekend.
Yeah, actually the Appalachian Trail Hall of Fame is inducting new members into their society. So we are going down to watch the inductions of folks who have made a huge difference anywhere along the Appalachian Trail. So they're hosting it in Shepherdstown, which is one of our favorite little communities. So we're heading down there to watch the new class of inductees be inducted.
Love that.
Anybody from PA?
I can't tell you. Ask me on Monday.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know who's being inducted.
Okay, cool. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shepherdstown is great.
Yeah. So Jess, we want to touch a little bit on, are there any special considerations for women who might be doing long distance hikes or tackling something like the Appalachian Trail that you might want to share?
Yeah, I mean, this is a topic that is near and dear to me because it's something that a lot of folks asked before I did my through hike. I hiked alone. I did not go with a significant other or a friend, or I had spent quite a long time preparing and planning. And for years I'd said like, hey, I'm going to do this at some point. Would you want to do it with me? And every time I'd asked someone, they'd said, well, we'll see.
Polite way of saying no.
Right. Like maybe if the stars align, right? Like I wasn't waiting for the stars to align. I was making it happen. And, eventually I came to terms with the idea that I was going to have to do that by myself. So I started doing a lot of research around like hiking the Appalachian Trail by yourself as a woman and, reading blog posts and things from other women who had done the same thing. And the best advice I got was trust your gut. And so from a safety perspective, and that's really the thing is just making sure that you feel as safe as possible and being smart, trusting your gut. That advice served me very well through my hike. And that's really, I think, I mean, it's true for everyone. I think it's especially true if you're a, young woman hiking by yourself. But the trail is a friendly place. Like by huge margins, everyone I met there, what I felt safe with. And there were people that I, met, and I was on the trail by myself at that point, because there's thousands of people who hike it, but at any given time you might be spread out however many miles from anybody else. And very rarely was there a situation where I was like, oh, I think I need to hike on, because something's just not quite okay.
Yeah.
But there were so many strangers that I met and just instantly felt connected to. And the community on the trail and around the trail communities, Marci, you know this, that they're incredible trail communities.
Yes.
So that was the biggest piece. And that's a question I got a lot. I still get that question a lot. Other than that, there's hygiene considerations and things like that. And, I packed a hairbrush with the handle cut off, which my family still makes fun of me for.
But did your toothbrush have a handle?
I also cut the toothbrush handle off.
Wow, really?
But that's how it goes. So
I never would have thought of that. Hairbrush, yeah, I can figure it. A toothbrush?
Ounces add up to pounds,
it's over that many steps. Yeah, no, my family still, 10 years later, my family still makes fun of me for that. But
do you still have the hairbrush?
I don't. It was pretty gross. Yeah, I was brushing my hair sometimes when my hair hadn't been washed in like 6 days. So
well, it's interesting that you mentioned about the community, because One Eye Wonders was on with us this morning, and he's done some tabling on behalf of the foundation, and just talks about how he'll ask somebody, what's your favorite park, and all of a sudden there's like a group of people standing around engaging in this conversation about this park and sharing information, and being out in these spaces just sort of removes barriers that we might find that we run into, like if we're at a corporate mixer or a cocktail party. We're in this place where we have this shared passion, and it automatically makes a connection and a bond.
Yeah, there's so many things that don't matter as much when you're in the parks, right? And I think this is true in a lot of outdoor spaces. For me, it was highlighted. It was particularly prominent during my thru hike because I was out there for so long. But age, my best trail friends are all ages. I was 24. My best trail friends were in their 40s, in their 60s. I had one set of friends who were 72 at the time that they hiked. Wow. And these were true friends. And that was one thing that struck me in particular, because, especially through your early 20s, people tend to collect in groups of other people their age. And I think there's something lost in that. So that's one of the things I love about meeting people in outdoor spaces, is that it doesn't matter as much how old you are. You're there, you're doing the things that you love to do, and you're enjoying them, and you're learning from each other.
So that was about somebody who maybe has been hiking for 60 years. Right,
but everybody brings their own experience and their own love, right? Like I've been hiking, since I was a kid, but there's things for me to learn from someone who's only just started hiking a year ago, right? Someone who's just new to getting out in the woods. Yeah. There's a perspectives that I don't have that is still really, really fun and interesting and rewarding to talk about.
Do you remember who you met that traveled the farthest to do their hike?
There was a gentleman from Germany.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he was probably one of the furthest. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And didn't an 80-year-old woman just set the record for the oldest female?
I believe so. Yeah. There's a lot of lore on the Appalachian Trail about the oldest person to do it records. There's one fable. I have no idea if this is true or not. But that there were two guys who were both trying to set the record for the oldest person to do it, and so one of them made it to the bottom of Katahdin and waited until his birthday. I have no idea. Like I said, I have no idea if that's true or not. But there's some people get weird about these records.
When Joe and I hiked up Katahdin, we camped the night before. We weren't through hikers. We do different sections. We were waiting at the bottom, and we start going up, and it's like early in the morning. It's like 7:30 in the morning, and there's this guy jogging down, and I'm like, please tell me you didn't go up to the top and are coming down. He goes, oh yeah, I'm trying to set the record for the fastest run on the Appalachian Trail. Unfortunately, it was such a wet year. He ended up with trench foot and some hamstring tendon issues. He got, I think, as far as New Hampshire, and then all these things started happening to him. But it was 7:30 in the morning, and he was coming back down. It's like
serious overachiever.
But I in a way I felt bad for him, because it was as fast as he was traveling, he was not enjoying, the scenery.
Yeah.
The experience. And maybe he was enjoying the experience, but there's something to be said about being on cruise control and taking it all in, as opposed to allowing it just to pass you by.
Yeah. There's a saying on the trail, it's hike your own hike, and I really held on to that one. There's another saying that's the last one to Katahdin wins, and I was really leaning into that too. But I realized, at some point that I got really grumpy if I tried to hike more than 20 miles a day, which sounds like a lot, from this spot in my house, but in that environment, like 20-mile days is pretty standard. And I realized that I got really grumpy after 20 miles. And so I was like, after 20 miles, like I was miserable until I got to camp. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do any more than 20 miles. That seems fine. Yeah.
Any of you people don't like it? Don't talk to me.
I'll see you at the trail, right? Like, but some people really love doing huge mile days, like back to back to back. I was like, that's great. I'm really glad that makes you happy. That does not make me happy. I tried it. Did not work.
And I think that's a really good insight. And I think that's something that people can embrace is, you do you. Yeah. Not just on the Appalachian Trail, but in any activity. It's always good to push yourself a little bit, figure out where your edge is. But if you're miserable, why? Why put yourself through that?
Yep. You have to have a really good why. Like, there were days when I was on my through hike where I was miserable because it was raining. It had been raining for a week. My feet hadn't been dry in a week. And I was like, this is miserable. But I really wanted to get to Katahdin. And so that was enough for me to like, okay, why am I doing this despite the fact that I'm miserable? Is because I really want to get to Katahdin. But now, am I going to choose to go out on a soggy, wet day for a day hike? Maybe, if that's what my body really needs that day. But if it's not, then no, I'm not gonna have wet feet for no reason.
Well, my husband always says when you're out on a bike tour, you have to end a ride in the rain, but you do not have to start one.
I like that.
So if it's raining and you want to stay in your tent, you just stay in your tent.
I like that a lot.
Sometimes a 0 day is good.
Yep.
It is, yeah. It's necessary.
Gotta listen.
And I love that too. That approach of like doing you, and also doing you in the moment. Like, for a long time after my through hike, I I had expectations of myself that like if I was going to go out for a hike, it needed to be 15 miles or it needed to be like crazy elevation or it needed to be like 4 days in the backcountry because I was a through hiker and that's what I do. And sometimes I love that. Sometimes that's what I need. But sometimes like 5 miles at French Creek State Park where I'm enjoying the rolling hills and the ponds and the leaves, like that's what I need sometimes. And sometimes I need to hang my hammock at, Ridley Creek State Park and just read for the day in between the trees and not move my butt anywhere. And so it took me a little while, especially after my through hike, to accept that was okay. But I mean, that's what our parks and forests are for. They're for what you need when you need it.
Yeah.
So,
Amen.
anyway, I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Yeah. And I can relate to that. I remember Pam and I were involved in the Women's Expedition for the Environment in 97. And afterwards, I was like, I'm riding my bicycle everywhere. I'm not going to walk. So, hey, we had a family reunion in Baltimore. I'm riding my bike. Like, it wasn't practical.
I love that. I love the vision of it. I do. I've definitely been there where I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. And then you actually look at it and you're like, I think I might have been crazy.
Yeah. But it's sometimes, though, it's hard after you've been expending that much energy and you've had that much movement to get your body to go in the other direction and slow down and sit and not move. I find that happens. I also find that when I come back from like a multi-day trip, either if I'm camping, I'm canoe camping, I'm bike camping, that I feel like surrounded by stuff. And I realize that I don't need all of this stuff because I just, survived a week with just everything that I could carry on my person or on my bike.
Yeah.
So it really has a way of shifting priorities and expectations.
It's the perfect time to do a purge.
It truly is. I mean, that's all I want to do is like, I just want to purge everything.
Yeah. I don't need this. I don't need that.
Yeah. I do want to say if anybody has a question that they want to ask of Jess or anybody, please feel free to put it in the comment box. We have a few minutes left on our time. We want to make sure that if you have a question, that we're answering it. In the meantime, Jess, anything else that you'd like to share, or Pam, you as well?
Nope. It's mid-afternoon Friday and if I had any words of wisdom, they were expelled a couple hours ago.
They're gone. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to just share how much I appreciate your work, both of you, for our parks and forests. Because I grew up in South Jersey, so Pennsylvania was always a playground for me. And I grew up and I got ambitious, and I was like, oh, I need to go out west to hike the mountains and live out west. And instead, I moved to Pennsylvania, and there's everything I need right here.
I'm glad to hear that.
So
you moved west.
I did a whole 10 miles west.
I was the same way when I met Bill. I was planning to go to Arizona. My roommate had gotten accepted at Northern Arizona University, and she said, "Come with me. Let's go to Flagstaff." And I'm like, I always wanted to live out west, and I moved west from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh.
Well, you made it further west than I did.
There you go.
But yeah, it was the same thing. When I finished my through hike, I had every intention of moving to Colorado and like hiking the Rockies and all the things.
14 milers, like 14,000 footers. Yeah.
And then I met my now husband, and I made it all the way to Philadelphia, which is a wonderful city, and I am a huge fan. I love it. But I'm also very glad that there are a lot of state parks within easy access from the city here.
Yeah. Well, and I reversed for me in terms of last weekend we went to the city to see a show, had a lovely dinner in an Italian restaurant, and then on Sunday we got up and we walked over to look to see where they're setting up the marketplace, getting ready for the holidays, the ice rink, and it was such a beautiful time. It was Sunday morning, it was quiet, and we just had a beautiful walk, and yeah, because that's the beauty about getting outdoors. You can do it anywhere.
Yes. I've been reading a book about urban naturalism, which has been very interesting. I'll send it to you, Marci, in case you want to put it on the book club list.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we don't have any questions.
Right around the corner.
What'd you say?
2026 is right around the corner.
Bite your tongue. I mean, yeah. I'm just astounded at where this year went. Well, Jessica, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your volunteerism on our board of directors. We appreciate that. We couldn't do the job that we do without a dedicated board of directors. So thank you.
Yeah, it is truly my pleasure. And thanks for having me. It was lovely to chat with you, ladies. Good luck with the rest of the day.
We'll do it again, huh?
Yeah,
Yes.
love it.
And for all our viewers, feel free to check out our website, paparksandforests.org. There's some helpful information about exploring and getting outdoors. Our YouTube channel, YouTube Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation, there are some good videos there too to help you explore and maximize your enjoyment in Pennsylvania's outdoors. So, great. Jess, you can stay there. We'll end the